All right, so today we're gonna do front brakes on this 2004 Nissan Titan, and I'm gonna show you how to turn this into this. I've got a jack stand and the jack. Most of the weight is on the jack stand. The jack is just there for extra caution. And there's really only 4 bolts you have to remove. These two 14mm bolts right here. The two 14mm bolts will take off the caliper. These 2 bolts right here and right here that hold this bracket on are extremely tight. They use Loctite on these bolts from the factory. So I had to use the breaker bar and this pipe for added leverage the whole time. It wasn't just, you break it loose and you're good. I had to keep at it, for 15 minutes, a quarter turn at a time to get these off. Often at times these rotors are very difficult to get off because they're seized on here. So a little trick for that is to spray some penetrant in each hole and around here and tap it with a hammer. Sometimes you got to apply more penetrant. Just a quick comparison so you can see the difference between worn pads versus brand new pads. They're noticeably thicker, which brings me to my next point. Since I'm putting brand new pads in here, in order to accommodate the new thickness of the pads and the rotor, I need to push this in. But first, let's clean this up with some brake lean. And this is the result that you're looking for. You want to see that the pistons are completely pushed in. On this bracket, these pins in here are supposed to slide freely. So this is the before. I'm going to take this out, clean it, and re-grease it. But you can see it's kind of stuck. It's not moving freely. So let's see what happens once we grease it. And for this grease, I'm just using a brake parts lubricant. Make sure you get it all on there. Coat it really well. And look at how well that slides now. I have one of these handy Blake breeder tools, and how it works is you pump this up, and what it's going to do is it's going to pressurize the master cylinder. So once this is pressurized, I can come down here and just crack this bleeder screw. And what this is going to do, it's going to get all the air out of the system, and it's going to change my fluid. All right, so with the system pressurized, all I did was just crack the bleeder screw, and I'm just going to let it continue to drain until the fluid is clear. Okay, so it's been draining under pressure now for about 3 minutes. It's already starting to run clear. I feel pretty confident now that this line is flushed. And once you're done with the bleeding, you can release the pressure on your canister and remove the fitting from your master cylinder. And then top it off with fluid. Sometimes it's hard to see, so I like to hold a flashlight in there, and you can see that the level is right at the maximum line. I scrubbed this bracket down really well with the wire brush. Now I'm going to clean it with a wax and grease remover, and it'll be ready for paint. Be sure to use a caliper specific paint when you're painting your calipers. So plan on 3 coats with about a 10 to 15 minute flash time. Whenever you're painting, the best thing to do is prep work. These are just frame rails, and this is not a show truck, so I'm not going to be too particular with it, but I'm just shooting for an improvement here. You could continue painting the wells if you wanted to. It's not really the look that I'm going for, but if you want to, you could. Just make sure the paint that you buy says that it bonds to plastics. And when you paint your frames, don't just limit it to the front. You can also do the back as well. I feel like anything that's exposed, go ahead and paint it. You want to be sure to clean this mating surface really good before you put the rotors on. Now is also a really good time to put some anti-seize lubricant all around here. Putting that anti-seize on here will make it a lot easier to pull that rotor off. Because these rotors are coated with a rust protection called G-coating. This coating is designed to wear off as soon as the brake pad meets the rotor. And what's nice about these rotors with the cross-drilled in slots, they have self-cleaning characteristics in addition to their cooling characteristics. And apply some blue Loctite to the bolt that holds this caliper bracket on. Install your hardware pieces. My brakes came with instructions to apply this grease to the backing plate on the brake pads. Apply a little bit of grease to the pad where it's going to slide. Be careful when you apply this grease that you don't get any on the rotor or the inside of the pad. So with the two caliper brackets tight, you can see how it slides nice and freely with everything well lubricated. The guide pins are greased, everything moves just as it should. All that's left now is to put this tire back on and perform our braking procedure on those brake pads. After a test drive, you can see everywhere the brake pad came in contact with the rotor, it removed that coating just as it was designed to do. So that concludes this project. Thanks for watching, everybody.